Today we're going to do a Famicom disk system test, and we're going to test out Nazo no Murasame, which is arguably the best FDS game. It's a Zelda-like game that has never been released in the United States other than through the Virtual Console. It is a great game, though. It's quite a bit like Zelda. I left the command line when I first added it was actually this, but I designated in my custom RetroArch two different ways to do this, to run via FCEUMM core or the Nestopia core. So you can type in FCEUMM after the bin / and that'll make it run with the FCEUMM core. If you change it to Nestopia instead, it'll run with that. Alternatively, you could use the classic command line and just go to the very, very end, and you could do the double hyphen, RetroArch, FCEUMM, just like that. But for NES, pretty much, I've just been using the trigger that I put after the bin /. If you go to the README files, you'll see pretty much what works for each core. So I'm going to the RetroArch README right now. And I just try to simplify things. Instead of having to do RetroArch at the end, I made it where you could just do the bin / instead. Now, I'm going down here a little bit. And I have bin / FCEUMM. Runs compressed games with the FCEUMM core, and the bin / Nestopia does the exact same thing. So right now I'm going to make it run with the Nestopia core. And I'm going to flash that over to the SNES Classic, and we're going to see how it runs. And another thing is, if you've ever emulated FDS system on a PC, you'll realize that you need the Famicom disk system BIOS. And I added the BIOS to my core set, as I will show you in a second here. So I have the standard cores, which all have the names and all that, but I also have a set of BIOS cores. Some are required, some are optional. You need the 3DO one, it will not work without that BIOS. You need the CPS2 one, you need the MSX one. But I also did the FDS ones, which are required for right now at least. Then you have some that are optional, like the Game Boy Advance ones, which if you actually use them with RetroArch, you'll get more optimal sound that's less glitchy. Then I have the PlayStation 1 ones, which are also optional. And some games you may find work better with the BIOS. Other games, it doesn't really matter. So it works both ways. And of course, you need them for Sega CD and TurboGrafx CD as well. But we flashed that over, and I'm going to my modules. I have it powered on, so there's a Clover Shell connection. I'm going to make sure I have the FDS BIOS installed along with my RetroArch. So I have the FDS BIOS, they're there. I installed the RetroArch Extreme variant, which has 500 filters, which I'll briefly go over in this video. But I'm just going to switch over to the SNES Classic, and we're going to do the FDS test. So we're loaded Nazo no Murasame. And select and start would show you which core you're running through. Right now I'm running through Nestopia as I typed in the command line. And the BIOS are pulling up right now. You would get a blank screen if they didn't pull up. I'm going into my quick menu, controls. And you can see right here you have an FDS for eject disk and side switch. On a real FDS system, you'd actually inject the floppy disk. Then you'd have to pretty much start the game, and then you'd eject it, flip it over, and reinsert it. So in this case, we're going to do R to eject it, L to flip it over, and R to reinsert it. And it varies per game, but right now we're going to resume and see what happens. A lot of times you'll have the initial start of the game on side A, but the game itself would be on side B. So we're going to start out here and do our character name. Doesn't matter what we type. Then it's going to prompt me to switch over to side B. And obviously, it's in Japanese right now, so you might not know that in context. So it's telling me to switch to side B. So I'm going to push R1 on my controller to eject the disc. Then I'm going to push L1 to flip it over. Then I'm going to push R1 to reinsert it. then I'm just going to wait, and it should load into the game just fine. This is a great Zelda-like game, and like I said, it was on a virtual console, but otherwise it wasn't released over in the United States. Real catchy music. I've done this in a couple other videos before, and the game never gets old. It's just a fun game to play, early Nintendo effort. I really wish it would have been released officially on the Nintendo Entertainment System, but we're playing on the SNES Classic now, so this is acceptable. So hope you enjoyed the video and hope this helps you run FDS games. It may change where we do not need the BIOS, but as of right now, the BIOS help run the game. There'll be more videos to come.